Chapter 175 to 177. "Brat, put me down!" A deep voice with an old samurai accent sounded out in the room. Hearing the sword speak, Amon was speechless for a second before frowning. A talking sword. A weapon doesn't need to talk. A weapon was made for destruction. What's the point of conversing with it? He then looked at Yona, who was staring at the talking sword with glittering eyes. It seemed she was happy seeing her experiment being successful. "Brat, you are too young to wield this great me. Put me down and let this one wait for someone who truly deserves this great me." Amon ignored it and asked Yona, "Oi, is there a way to stop this thing from talking?" This seemed to make the sword shake heavily. "Brat! Brat! Calm down, take things easy. I was just cracking jokes to make you laugh." Laugh? What does he think he is? A joker? Amon chuckled internally. It really seemed granting this sword the ability to talk would be a hassle. Seeing this, Yona shook her head. There shouldn't be any way to make it stop talking. The only way would be to remove your shadow from it, but in that case, it would return to its previous form. Amon nodded at her hearing this. He had some ideas, but he didn't want to harm the sword, so he didn't test them on it. Actually, it's not necessarily a bad thing. After eating the devil fruit, I should be able to command it how to use it if we can communicate freely. Amon thought, trying to convince himself, and it worked. "Oh, it's good that you understand." The sword made a sound that Amon could only deduce as a sigh. Amon raised his eyebrow. "You know what I was thinking?" It was strange how he understood Amon's internal monologue just from his facial expression alone. "Slightly. I might have this strange sense of humor, but I am still a part of you. Look at it this way. You and Kitetsu One are my parents, and I am your children. I am none of you, but at the same time I am both of you. It's pretty complex." The sword answered, making Amon think. Interesting. "A child," it said. Amon was feeling like chuckling softly. "Well, then why do you want me to not wield you?" "As I said, Brat, I was joking. How could I not want you to wield me? You already claimed me by inserting Conqueror's haki in me for hundreds of hours." Amon hummed. "That's true. You started being obedient after that incident." Amon then ordered, "All right, then stop calling me Brat. Call me Master." "But I am a proud samurai. How can I—" "Yona, all right, come down. I understand. I will do it. I will call you Master." Amon curled his lips upward, hearing this. "Good boy. Then let's do the last procedure." Amon slipped his hand in his bag and took out a large devil fruit, placing it on the table. "Eat this." The sword stayed silent upon hearing him. "How?" Amon raised his eyebrow. "Doesn't he have my memory? That's good then." Making an object eat a devil fruit isn't really that complex. In Wano, there is a teapot that has eaten fruit. After asking Otama, I found out she had one day tried to boil a fruit in that pot. And when she was done, she saw the change in the pot. "Oh!" Yona exclaimed in surprise. "That's not really complex. So do we just put Kiyu in the pot along with the devil fruit?" "Kiyu? Kiyu?" Both Amon and the sword asked at the same time. Yona nodded. "Of course, Kiyu said he is the child of Kitetsu One, so we can't use the previous name, so I thought of Kiyu. Isn't that a cute name?" "That's cute, but I'm a proud sword. Why would I need a cute name?" Amon stayed silent for a few seconds. It wouldn't have been possible to make the sword lively without Yona's help, so he would listen to her suggestion this time. "Okay, you're Kiyu from now on." "But Master—" Of course, it was partially to tease the sword. "Anyway, the thing is, putting Kiyu and the fruit in a pot might not work, because for all we know, the pot might get the fruit in place of Kiyu." "I see." Yona nodded. "Then—" "It's simple. Kiyu just has to cut the fruit in half while intending to devour the fruit." Amon completed his sentence. Will that really work? We can only try, Amon answered Yona's question, as he then put the fruit on the table beside Q and then ordered the sword. Now cut it with the intent of eating it. Okay? Q, the sword, then floated in the air and pointed its blade towards the fruit, immediately rushing down and cutting the fruit in half. Sult! The fruit was cut in 2 pieces, and those 2 pieces of devil fruits glowed with Q in the middle, as suddenly, ring, ring, ring! While the devil fruits disappeared into thin air, Amon's dial rang. He soon accepted the call as Uruge's voice flowed from the other side. Kami-sama, Commander Wiper is in severe danger. We need you. Amon frowned with the dial in his ear. Did he fail? It was highly unlikely, at least with Uruge there. Let's see. Amon looked at the sword that now had a slight golden hue in its blade. Time to test you, Kyu. Meanwhile, in the Germa kingdom, Tsumi was fighting the enemy soldiers with many injuries in her body. Bang! Kueh! She groaned as a bullet penetrated her thigh. She somehow stood up as she fired an arrow made of ice towards the shooter. She sensed another bullet coming towards her neck as she crouched down and evaded the shot. Just as she was preparing to shoot an arrow towards the other sniper, a loud rumbling sounded out. The tall wall which was circling the kingdom shook, and immediately a man ran through the wall, crumbling it to dust. Bam! A hole got created in the wall as a tall Uruge came through the broken wall like an armored titan. From his posture, it seemed he had busted the wall with his shoulder. The soldiers' eyes grew seeing this. This monster was back again? Before they could regain their composure, something else entered their vision. Master! They yelled as they noticed Vinsmoke Judge's fried body above Uruge's shoulders, along with the other Vinsmoke members being in his large hands. Uruge then announced in a loud voice, Our Commander Wiper has defeated all of your commanders by himself. Surrender now, or the lives of 5 people would be lost. Hearing Uruge's threatening comment, the soldiers' bodies shook, but they had no choice. They were programmed to lay their lives for the Vinsmoke family, so it's no wonder they would listen to Uruge when he was using their lives as a bargaining chip. Immediately, the soldiers dropped their weapons on the ground as they kneeled on the floor as well. Tsumi and the others sighed seeing this. This battle has caused many casualties, people dying from both sides with the Skypieans dying more because of their lack of defense against the armor-piercing bullets. Tsumi dropped to the ground as she sighed another time. But it was then the sky darkened. Rumble! With a bolt of lightning, a man appeared beside her. Tsumi, you are pretty injured. The man commented as Tsumi looked at him with lazy eyes. My lord, I almost died. Hearing her, the man, Amon, chuckled. Get some rest, he commented. I will take all of you back to Skypea real quick. All of you, along with the ships. While Tsumi looked at him with strange eyes, barely believing him, Amon teleported to the air again. Amon stopped in the air, looking down as he took out his sword. Kyu asked, Master, should I activate my power? Yes, Amon said with a grin. He then pointed his sword towards the sea inches beside the ships. Amon streamed his strength in his arm and raised his sword in the air, slashing downwards. Dimensional slash sult. With a crispy sound as the airstrike left the sword, space itself got cut, revealing a dark world on the other side. Wow, Amon mumbled as he stared at the abyss. While this caused a batch of cry coming from the Germa kingdom, the massive artificial island then slowly entered the cut in space because of the sea current. And soon after, the kingdom, along with the Einherjer ships, disappeared in the darkness. Amon Pov. Seeing the ship disappearing in the darkness, I also slowly floated inside the crack in space. I assumed it would be fully dark in the world inside, but as I went past the gate, everything regained light. There was a sea, There were islands around. There were also houses in the islands kilometers away from here. The only change was there was no life in this world, nor was there any color. Everything was gray. This was a copy of the world on the outside, everything as present here, from poop to food. Arguably a perfect world, I mumbled as I went closer to the massive artificial island with 10 Einherjar ships floating in the gray sea. I raised an eyebrow as I looked at the ship that had also become gray with the surroundings. Most astonishingly, the people in the ship were also gray, frozen in time. Yes, Master, everyone other than the user of the fruit becomes frozen in time here. I see, but why am I not frozen? I certainly did not eat the fruit. At my question, the sword shook. Ha ha ha, of course. It's because I don't want Master to freeze, and also because you are touching me. I frowned. Does that mean I am at his mercy in this world? Well, not like he would betray me, considering he is a part of me. Still, even if he tries anything, I highly doubt I would get frozen. The world becomes frozen in time every time I enter lightning speed too. So I assume when I enter lightning speed here, it would nullify the effect. Anyway. All right, since everyone is frozen in time, they are like statues. I can teleport with a bunch of statues, I think. I can't teleport with living beings. Not because it would fry the being within the immense heat inside the electrical field, but because it's not possible. Something restricts me, most likely the force of the universe. Oda's rules, maybe? Anyway, let's try to see if I can teleport to the entire ship or not. If I can, it would boost my mobility a lot. Psst! Rumble! With a bolt of lightning, a massive 200-meter-long large ship appeared in the White Sea, and after that, with 10 more bolts of lightning, 10 more ships appeared at the same spot. All this happened in the gray world of the door dimension. After that, the figure of Amon teleported in the air as he looked down on the frozen people. It actually worked, Amon commented as he observed the scene below. The sea current was still there, not much different from the outside world. It was when Kiyu, the sword, talked. Master, this would be extremely useful in the future. If there is a need for Robin, Rocky, or someone else far from here, you can teleport with them after inserting them into this world. Unlike before, you can work as a mass teleportation device. Hearing the sword's statement, Amon agreed. That's true. It's also good to hide or imprison people. The moral of the story, this was a good power-up. Now, while the sword can still be used as a weapon, it can also be used as a key to this empty dimension, a universe-sized storage bank. Everything that exists outside exists here. And it was as big as outside, too. All in all, this was more useful than Mirror Dimension of the Big Mom Pirates. Anyway, let's get out of here then. Amon raised his hand holding the sword, gripped the hilt hard, and ordered the sword by chanting the technique's name out loud. With an eerie sound, Amon slashed downwards as the world went bright and an enormous cut formed in the air. Cool, Amon said, as he then went to the outside of the artificial island and placed his palm on the wall. Then, using advanced armament's repulsive force mixed with electromagnetic repulsive force, he pushed the ship and launched it forward as it went past the gate at a great speed. Whoosh! Doing the same with the other 10 ships, Amon was now on the outside world. Close the gate. Hearing Amon's order, the sword circulated its power, making this gate close with a sharp sound. Amon then placed the sword back to its scabbard. Ah! He noticed the surprised yelp and confused gulps from all around. Surely suddenly a change in their surroundings was a bit shocking to them. He looked at Sumi beside him. We are at Skypea. The teleportation was a success. Sumi rubbed the back of her head awkwardly. It was? Clearly unaware that they have actually traveled half a world, Tusmi continued. I thought you couldn't teleport with other people. Amon just smiled and walked away, towards a few God's Army soldiers. Currently, every one of the god's army was trying the Germa 66 soldiers up. The teleportation happened midway, so they weren't done yet. They were also taking care of the casualties and also maintaining their emotions after losing their brothers, fathers, and comrades. They expected to lose people close to them in this raid, but when this finally happened, they were saddened for the most part. They won, but at what cost? The lives of their comrades weren't cheap. Of course, these things didn't matter to Amon. He lost more than 1,000 soldiers, but he gained 10,000 Germa soldiers. That's all he cared about. Amon came to a stop in front of a few Shandians who were tying the Germa soldiers. He ordered, after tying them up tightly, direct the ship towards Shandora. 3 of the 2 commanders are injured, so ask Uroj for anything. Hearing Amon's orders, the soldiers stomped on their feet. "As you wish, Lord." They saluted as Amon nodded. They lost their comrades, but they still viewed Amon as their god after all, and believing a god was the most dangerous loyalty. Amon nodded and turned around as he met Uruj's eyes from far. Uruj walked closer to Amon and bowed respectfully. He then asked, "Kami-sama, what do I do with these 5 Vinsmokes?" he asked, pointing behind him where a few bodies were piled up. Amon made a thinking pose. Bring them to Yona. Ask her to imprison them until I return to them. Also, we need to hold a memorial for the lost soldiers. The casualty was big this time. We need to pay respect to their souls." Amon added with a sad tone. Uruj nodded with a cheerful grin. "As expected from our kind god. As you wish, I will talk with the officer necessary for the procedure after reaching Shandora." Amon smiled. "All right, good." With Uruj nodding again, Amon then walked back to Tsumi and ordered her, "Keep up the good work, but don't forget to go to the infirmary after reaching Shandora. There is a new doctor there. She will help you get all healed up." Amon then decided to teleport away, but just as he was about to take off, Tsumi nudged his clothes. "Kami-sama." She looked at him with puppy eyes. "Fly me to the doctor, it would be faster." Seeing her pleading eyes, Amon broke it laughing. "Ha! Come on, get used to the pain already. Consider it training, my devotee. Your god blesses you with luck." He winked at her. "Bye." Buzzed. He then blitzed away from there, earning a scoff from Tsumi. "What a kind god you are." After that, Amon ended up in front of Robin's room. "Brahmaster, are you going to form that now?" The old samurai voice of the sword asked, making Amon chuckle. "Yes, it's time." Amon patted the sword's scabbard, ignoring its stutter. "Big Mom has sweet commanders, Kaido has calamities, and finally, Whitebeard has division commanders. To manage big crews, these types of figures are needed." It was time. Time to form his own calamity. Robin was in her room working on a few documents. She had to put Shiki's case on hold for now since she wasn't reaching anywhere. So she was rather working on the official matters of the Valkyrie org. A few days ago, Robin was tired. Tired of everything. But she held on. Then, for reasons she wasn't aware of, one day Amon suddenly started to give her more attention, just like in the old days. Robin felt a warmth in her heart every time Amon did that. She felt all her fatigue vanish when he hugged her softly. And to not betray his trust in her, Robin was working harder than ever. She would solve these issues with the organization first, then she would solely focus on Shiki. He needs Shiki's information to grow, and I am the only one who can provide that information. I have to work hard. She finished her thought with a puff of white smoky breath letting out. It was near winter, so the Skypia was cold. She couldn't say she hated this atmosphere. Knock, knock. 2 small knocks fell on the room, as Robin leaned on her chair and looked outside with her basic observation haki. "Lucy." A small smile bloomed on her face. "Come in." With a bolt of lightning, Amon appeared inside as Robin stood up from her chair, walked closer to him, and wrapped her arms around him. She placed her face on his chest, her ears listening to his heartbeat. "Spoiled boy, do you need anything from me?" Robin asked, feeling Amon's hands brushing her hair. "I was here to borrow your creativity for a bit. I need to name my commanders," he said while placing his chin above her head. "You know, how the emperors have their strong people categories? I want something similar." Robin withdrew her head and looked at Amon's eyes. "How many people do you have in mind for this rank?" 7? Yeah, 7. Just like how the government has the 7 warlords, I would have 7 commanders." Hearing Amon, Robin tilted her head. A few seconds passed. 7. How about 7 gladiators, then?" Robin suggested, very serious. She looked over some names, but this seemed the best. Though to her surprise, Amon broke out laughing. Amon laughed as he pushed Robin away from him lightly. He then slopped on his back on the bed. "Try something else. It sounds cringe." Then 7 chronicles?" "Nope." Robin shook her head and made a thinning position. "Then what about 7 deadly sins? I read it in a book. Wrath, pride, greed, lust, sloth, envy, and gluttony. These are the 7 deadly sins of humans. It would be interesting with each commander of this rank having their own title." Robin finished her line. Amon touched his chin and pondered this. "It's not a bad idea. 7 deadly sins." Amon recalled the anime he watched in his past life. It might suit the people he has in mind. Reiki, sin on wrath. Wiper, sin of pride. Boa Hancock, sin of lust. Urouge, gluttony. Yona, sin of sloth. That's the 5 member he currently has in mind. And other than Urouge, the other 4 matched pretty nicely with their titles. There would be 2 spaces vacant for now, and would most likely be taken by others soon after they reach a certain level. Amon smiled. "Not bad, Robin. Then this would be the title, the 7 deadly sins." Robin giggled hearing him. "Glad to be of help. Anything else?" Amon was about to shake his head but recalled his previous worry as he decided to act a little childish. He grabbed his sword and threw it towards Robin. "Catch it!" "Ah!" With a confused yelp, Robin caught the sword. Then an angry voice flew within the sword. "You brat! How dare you throw this one around? Just who do you think you are, you pathetic weasel?" Amon's face froze as he listened to the sword curse nonstop. Meanwhile, Robin looked at the scene confused. "Judge, the Vinsmoke family's head didn't think they would be defeated like this. Yes, they knew they weren't the strongest, and precisely why they always laid low in front of powerhouses. Who would have expected for a tiger to suddenly target them as his prey? At least they didn't. Amon was a new emperor of the sea, so they expected knowing his secret would allow them to use him. Yet this happened. Sigh. A small breath fled Judge's lips as he looked down, his hands raised up and pinned against the wall. Judge woke up first, his body being stronger than his children. What he witnessed was a red-haired woman putting large nails in his and his children's shadows. What happened after was, without any physical restraints, they were unable to move their bodies. "It's the shadow fruit." Judge recalled the name from the devil fruit encyclopedia. Currently, he was in a dark cell, with his 4 children restrained by their shadows beside him in the wall. They were still unconscious. Judge then heard footsteps coming from far. He raised his head and could see light on the other side, indicating the door of the hallway was opened. He stared in front as the figure of the same red-haired woman came in front of him. But what caused him to frown was the appearance of the other figure. It was the Sky Emperor. "Amon, his name was..." "Germa has been captured," the bald elder amongst the 5 elders blurted. "It was Lucifer again." Lucifer. This name has been very active these days. Ever since his return from wherever he vanished to, Lucifer has been on the news every Tuesday. It was like the world was circling around him now, It was as if he was the main character of this world now. That's not all. The Baldy continued. He has announced the Drum Kingdom as his territory. We have also found traces of Moria's ships leading to the Skypia. And from the mouths of the CP9, it's clear the ship has been modified and is now floating 10,000 meters above us. CP9 somehow managed to come back with this piece of news, even though they did lose one of their members. This proved the high security of Sky Emperor, so high that even members of CP9 couldn't enter there. Is that all? He even formed a new title for his strongest soldiers recently. More infuriatingly, he announced it himself. The badly finished words while releasing a breath he didn't know he was holding. Sky Emperor Amon, it's time to initiate a new bounty for him. Everyone in the room remained silent with a solemn look on their faces. This time it won't be Amon alone. Reiki, Wiper, Uruj, Tsum, even the new addition, Boa Hancock, the ones they had knowledge on, they would also get their bounties increased. The 5 elders nodded to each other. Amon was too dangerous to be left in a mere 2.4B belly. Monkey D. Dragon was a cautious individual, a person who always stayed passive, rarely raising his fist against others, because he knew, when he would do that, the old fools would turn their heads towards him. The reason for his caution wasn't them, though, as he knew, with enough planning, he could take down all 4 emperors. But now, there was a variable. Amon. From his encounter with Imu, he knew Imu was a little different from others, different from himself. It wasn't his will or his desire that was different. It was something else. Something Dragon couldn't quite point at. He has seen Amon thrice up until now. He walked the same road as him and ate at the same restaurant as him a few times. From what he believed, Amon still doesn't know of such incidents. This boy is not cautious enough. Yet, from this uncautious man, he could feel something. Something similar to Imu-sama. Something vastly different, yet the same. So every time he saw Amon's name in the newspaper, he got a chill down his spine. Today was no different. German 66 has been defeated by the Einherjar pirates. The missing ship of Gecko Moria found in Skypiean. The appearance of the 7 deadly sins. Dragon read the newspaper on his table with a scowl on his face. New bounty posters also came with the newspaper, but he didn't care about bounties. What he cared about was the things that have been revealed to be associated with Amon. But why did he name them 7 deadly sins? Dragon asked himself. He is a self-proclaimed god, so why would he promote evil with this name? It was a thing to think about. 7 deadly sins were the incarnation of evil. Why would Amon bestow his commanders with such a title? More so when he is a benevolent god himself. No! Dragon soon found the reason. From his knowledge, Amon's devotees are mostly the Birkins, as the Skypieans are still a little bit doubtful of him. The devotees do good deeds, yes, but they won't think twice to do bad deeds if Amon orders them to. He is deliberately doing this, naming them in this evil way. He wants to tell them that it doesn't matter if you are evil. As long as you devote yourself to me, you will get a chance in your life too. He is basically playing with their minds. A manipulator. Dragon registered in his mind. This kid, what's his goal exactly? Dragon feared he already knew what it was. For that reason, he realized he wouldn't be able to sleep tight tonight. Things were going smoothly. Amon was happy with the speed of the procedures. His current goal was to gain a huge bounty for all the sins and then lure newbies to work for him. The war, the final war, would be big. He needs a large army for that, for him to stand against everyone. It won't be easy, but when has that ever been? Amon had a few posters in his hand. 6 posters to be precise. They had Amon, Hancock, Reiki, Wiper, Uruj, and Sumi's photo printed on the front. They were bounty posters. Priestess Sumi, bounty, 260 million bellies. Pirate Empress, bounty, 500 million bellies, Mad Monk Uruj. Bounty, 600 million bellies. Flame Sultan, bounty, 800 billion bellies, Heavenly Sky Princess. Bounty, 1.1 billion bellies. Finally, Sky Emperor. Bounty 3 billion bellies. Flame Sultan is Wiper's new title. Heavenly Sky Princess is Reiki. Amon chuckled as the chair almost fell backwards. Sky Princess? Fucking hilarious. Minutes passed with his chuckle filling the room. Amon barely stopped himself from chuckling more as he then looked at his poster. I guess Moria's defeat, Drum Kingdom's defeat, along with CP9's defeat caused my bounty to jump up, but that's still too much. Amon recalled how many assassins were taken down before they could even reach Angel Island. The father of the 3 nobles did send some high-class assassins, so that also adds up. He also recalled the news he got a few months ago. The Celestial Dragons were debating hard to make his bounty increase. It seemed they have finally succeeded with these new things backing his dangers up. 3.3 billion isn't bad at all. Amon was amused. It's still below every other emperor, though. The sword's voice caused Amon to chuckle some more. And why do I care? It's only a matter of time before I surpass Roger's bounty. Just a matter of time. Amon answered with a strange grin on his face. Amon imagined, once, twice, thrice, what he will do after reaching the top, what he would do after becoming absolute. The sword made a strange sound, as if sighing. Amon was soon out of his small mind game. He was now sitting in a different room, playing with a Rubik's Cube, a new product of the... This would sell pretty bad. Amon mumbled in his mind as he solved the cube in less than a millisecond with a spark of lightning in his hands. People of this world are too dumb for this. Sighing at this failed product, Amon shrugged as he put it down. He then looked around the room. It reminded him of the rich and classic office room he saw on TV in his past life, something he never got to see with his 2 eyes before. This was inside Germa's HQ. Pretty modern. Nodding to himself as he rolled the chair, he looked ahead where 5 people were kneeling, their eyes vacant. Amon barely stopped himself from laughing softly as he looked at the brainwashed puppets. He didn't use his own technique, he rather used Germa's technology to do it. Unsurprisingly, it worked better than his hands, after all. His brain hasn't surpassed the ability of a supercomputer yet. Germa soldiers are brainwashed puppets. Amon felt a sense of irony hit him, seeing their leaders being brainwashed from the same machine. Is this what they call karma? Amon didn't care, though. He had people who could even control that karma. Normally, it's not possible to brainwash people above vice admirals, no matter if it's by Amon's hands or the machine's hands. But it was possible with the Germa. Because their actual power level isn't vice admiral level, they only reached that level after wearing their raid suits. Now, Vinsmoke Judge, why not explain the lineage formula to me? It was time for Angel 3.0.